We are going to move from a resilience to a natural brilliant state.
We're all here to move our Black communities forward.
We think our children have to have the best. It's all about discipline.
How are we going to discipline ourselves so that we're able to save, so that we're able to make good financial decisions?
Recognizing that there's a road ahead if you manage the road in front of you.
The decisions that you're going to be making today in your lives when it comes to money will affect you in the future.
Discipline is one of the things that we often learn, sometimes by our environment, or sometimes we're forced to do it, and sometimes we don't learn it at all.
Stores want to get us in and out and get our money, and that's it. It's a game, so you have to be really wise to the game.
Do you know what it costs to run your home on a monthly basis?
Land acknowledgement. As we gather together, we acknowledge the sacred land on which we reside. It has been a site of human activity for 15,000 years. This land is the territory of the Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today, this gathering place is still the home of many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community on this territory. We are also mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive to make right with all our relations. Last but certainly not least, we acknowledge the people of African descent who were brought here against their own will or in search of a safe place to live their lives and raise their children. Reconnaissance des terres. En nous rassemblant, nous reconnaissons la terre sacrée sur laquelle nous résidons. C'est un site d'activité humaine depuis 15 000 ans. Cette terre est le territoire des Premières Nations Huron-Wendat et Petun, les Scéniques et plus récemment les Mississaugas de la rivière Crédit. Le territoire était sujet de l'alliance de la ceinture Wampum plat avec cuillère, un accord entre la Confédération Iroquois et Confédération des Ojibwe et des nations alliées à partager et à prendre soin pacifiquement pour les ressources autour des Grands Lacs. Aujourd'hui, ce lieu de rassemblement est toujours le foyer de nombreux peuples autochtones de toute l'île de la Tortue et nous sommes reconnaissants d'avoir la possibilité de travailler dans la communauté sur ce territoire. Nous sommes également conscients des alliances brisées et de la nécessité de nous efforcer de guérir toutes nos relations. Dernier point, mais non le moindre, nous remercions les personnes d'ascendance africaine qui ont été amenées ici contre leur volonté ou à la recherche d'un endroit sûr où vivre leur vie et élever leurs enfants.
This webinar provides illustrative information with respect to the subject matter covered and does not represent an official opinion or position of the Black Business and Professional Association. The BBPA makes no representations, warranties, or guarantees as to assume no responsibility for the content or application of the material contained herein, and especially disclaim all liability for any damages arising out of the use or reference to or lines on such material.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the community space. I am Trevon, and I will be your host for today. I'm holding on for Roderick. He is taking the day off and will be back to join us next time. So today we would be discussing marketing with Danielle Donaldson, CEO of Blue Organics. Danielle, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Just give us a brief intro and just tell us just a little synopsis of what we would hear from you today.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Danielle Spencer Donaldson. I am the owner of Blue Organics, which is a baby boutique. We started out with making and retailing ball pits. Now we've expanded our line to, baby couches that we'll be launching soon. We have tummy time mats, we have dining sets. So we're definitely all about baby in those first few months of early development. I'm also the director of strategy at Brand EQ, which is a communications and marketing agency. And so I have a lot of experience working on different clients on different projects with, different products and services. And so, the things that I've seen, the things that I've worked on, they definitely range. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. I do want to start with like a little bit of kind of like my entrepreneurial journey and then like how marketing has played a role in that. And so, yeah,
Great.
Here.
Yeah, well, that sounds really good, really exciting. I know it sounds like this is the presentation to hear. So before I hand it over to Danielle, everyone, I want to let you know that we will be having a Q&A at the end of Danielle's presentation. So please remember to write your questions in the chat at that point, or if you want, you can also raise your virtual hand and we will call on you to ask your question live. So Danielle, the floor is yours. Over to you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, here, let me just do a little bit of a screen share. Okay, so entrepreneurship. When it comes to marketing, in entrepreneurship, it is so key and so important. The great thing about entrepreneurship is that you're able to work for yourself, and so your business is yours. The trajectory of it is everything it is that you're willing to make it, and marketing is such a huge part of that. And when you're working for yourself, I think that marketing is just the absolute paramount thing that you need to know how to do. And I think that it's something that even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, if you do want to, enter corporate Canada, you do want to join the workforce in terms of working for somebody else, I think that all that's fantastic as well. But I do think that marketing in any aspect of your life is so key and it's so important. Again, going back to the piece of working for yourself, marketing is it's how you present yourself. It's your reputation, it's your expertise, it's how you let that be known. And so I think that it's something that literally every single person needs to have a great grasp of. So again, about myself is that I own a baby boutique that I started at the beginning of the pandemic. Again, I had worked in marketing already. I had already done some product development in the past. I had tried launching a different company before I had gotten pregnant, like myself, like a year and a half prior. The company did not pan out. I shortly found out that I was pregnant, and just the beginning of pregnancy rendered me useless to starting up a business. It didn't work. And I was like, it's something that I'm going to revisit afterwards, because it was lashes. I was really into makeup at the time, but then after pregnancy, I just wasn't even wearing makeup anymore, and it didn't really work. So I was like, I'll revisit this after I have the baby. After I had the baby, it was end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we move into pandemic. Nobody's wearing makeup. So I'm sitting on like hundreds of lashes, and the interest to promote them and build a business around them just did not exist. So I very much kind of like refocused and re-anchored myself back into my day job working in marketing. And in my work, and also being a stay-at-home, working mom, I realized that my daughter was just, she was growing like right before my eyes. And I wish that she had more developmental activities. So I didn't really have to leave my job to go and sit with her and do the things that she needed. I wish that I had like some stuff that was like a little bit more kind of self-sufficient in her activity. And I remember thinking one day, like, oh, I would just love to go to Chuck E. Cheese and drop her off and just sit at like a counter and do my work and just like watch her. But it's pandemic time. Chuck E. Cheese is the last place you want to go. It's like absolutely not. And so I looked into getting a ball pit at home. I could not find anything that was within the price of what I wanted to pay, within the lead time of what I wanted, when I wanted for it to arrive, because Amazon Prime next day delivery, like you just can't, when something's going to be delivered in 2 weeks, it's just not the same. And so I couldn't find anything that also like was of the quality that I wanted for her. So in that moment, I kind of recognized that there was a gap in the market. And so I was like, well, if I'm having this kind of issue, I wonder how many other parents are. And so I just grabbed some stock photos online. I put together a very janky product description and I threw it up on Etsy because Etsy's free. It's like a $5 listing fee. And if you happen to sell the product, that's when you end up, paying your fees and your dues. In 1 week, and I had gotten like 5 sales, and I was like, there's something here. And so I readjusted a lot of things. I put up proper SEO product descriptions. I got photos taken. I started developing the products that could be made here in Canada. And we've now grown the company in 2 years. We have 2 years next month. And we've hit 7 figures now. So we've passed the $1 million mark off of me just thinking like, oh, I would love to have this for my daughter. I can't get this for my daughter, and then putting something together. And so marketing played such a huge role in that, because I found that the biggest piece to the product being able to sell was how moms connected to it. So really including, other like influencers who embody how moms really want their homes to be, how they want their children to engage and interact with products, how they want to include products in their home, things that work with their schedules, things that work with them working from home. So it was just really about finding what the gap is and then speaking to why it was a solution to parents who were having a similar problem that I was having. And I think that one of the most beneficial things was just me actioning it. I think that a lot of the times in our day-to-day lives, we always think of like, oh, I wish I had this. I wish this was a thing. I wish this was improved in this type of way. And we kind of just leave it. When the moment you say like, I wish, or I think, you've identified a gap in your market. And if you're able to essentially just offer a solution to that gap, you essentially have a business right in front of you. And then it's just about how you bring that to the market. And so, that's about Baloo and how we had gotten started there. So it's just products that develop things that are really good for baby and great for parents at home. In our last 2 years, we've gotten a lot of media recognition and features and a number of different media outlets. We also were featured in Vogue and Vanity Fair. We've sent our products to like every major mommy, like out in like California, like and down in the US. And it was just, we definitely had a quick start just because of how there was nothing available in the market at that time. So for me, it was just preparation met opportunity. I already had a background in marketing, and so I knew how to put things out in front of people. And I also understood how my consumers would respond to certain pieces of marketing. So for example, clean aesthetics on my website, like including a lot of white space, just really zoning in on that clean aesthetic that every parent wants to have in their home. And so they really identify in their marketing. And being able to put together marketing that really brought in a community. We didn't really just focus solely on the ball pits, because at the time we were like, well, how often can we post about, a ball pit? Like it's going to get boring and redundant at a certain point. So then we started expanding our content onto just building community, posting things that are just relatable to other moms, and like posting tips and, doing shout outs for moms and like offering Starbucks gift cards because if they just tell us like how their week went, things like that. So just really building community and really building engagement in that point. And so again, just my background was definitely a great asset to have when we did launch. But again, going back to the piece that I think that marketing is for everybody, I think that it's something that if you understand, it's easy to execute. And so I think that it playing a very key role in all of our lives. I think that it's something that you should be researching and educating yourself on, like from time to time, and just understanding how it is that you can bring things to market. Another thing was that I just acted quickly. So like I had said, I saw that there was a gap. Same day, I kind of just put something up just to see what would hit. And in 1 week, I got some sales. And then I very quickly moved on to establishing my website, expanding the product lines. And by that, I mean, just like adding in like 2 more colors, including balls to sell with the ball pits, and just immediately getting some inventory in for me to start selling. I invested in marketing. Marketing is it's literally something where it's like you get more than what you put in. If you put in $100 of, digital ads, you should expect to see, like, well, for me and my products range, like our products range like about like $250 for an order. So if we put in about $100 of advertising, we'll typically see maybe about like $2,000 to $3,000 return on that. So for us, it's like the investment, it makes sense. For anybody who has a smaller, more financially accessible product, I think that you can definitely see similar returns in terms of percentage wise of what you get back. But it's so key to invest in marketing, whether it's your time and educating yourself, hiring somebody to assist you, hiring somebody to just completely take it off your hands and just do it themselves. I think that it's so important to invest in marketing. I also, again, going back to creating community, I focused on really creating an experience for my customers. So as opposed to even just sending out the products in just like a brown box and just throwing together any type of packaging, we got branded boxes, we included instruction cards, we sent thank yous like immediately after the order was placed and immediately after they received it. And so we really wanted to double down on the fact that we were a small business and the fact that we were so accessible to our customers. It didn't have to be like a whole chain of command before you can talk to the person who owns it. The person who owns it and can solve any type of issue you're having is going to reach out to you and just make sure that you are enjoying what it is that you've purchased. And so that, I think, was also a great additive to our customer experience. And the experience really is everything, because if somebody doesn't enjoy participating in your business, if they don't enjoy your product, why are they going to want to come back? Like, they're not. If there's nothing that they like, if there's no good takeaway, and if it's not more than just, well, yeah, I bought like a little, product, I bought like one of this one time. If it's not bigger than that, it's typically not as enjoyable for a customer to want to come back. And so all these pieces were so key to me, but exactly what is marketing? I think that it can feel like such a broad and heavy term. It's just like what exactly is it? Well, it's literally just bringing something to market. It's just taking a business or a product and literally just bringing it to the market. It's getting it in front of somebody who's going to want to buy it. And I think that my favorite definition or description as to what marketing is definitely came from Kanye West. And it was something where he was talking about like Lady Gaga and how she was promoted to, actually, no, I think I have the clip here. So I'll get to that. But essentially, we are all in marketing. Everybody's in marketing. It's in your day-to-day. It's in the grand scheme of your business. You are in marketing. Whether you know it or you like it or not, you are in marketing. It's just communication. It's literally just communicating your product. And communication, it's not just simply the verbal aspect of communication. It's, the visual aspect of it. People will say that, your body language says more than your words can. Marketing is just the same. Words are one thing, but your photos are another. What other people are saying about your product is another. Your reputation is another. The aesthetics of it, the vibe when people come to your page and they see what it is that you're doing. Reviews, it's all of these different things coming together in one point. That is marketing. Oh, and here we go.
So basically what's going to happen is there's product here. And this is where you end up right here. If you can communicate this product, you can make money off the product. Because look at Gaga. She's the creative director of Polaroid. I like some of the Gaga songs. About cameras.
That is marketing to a T. Somebody doesn't have to know exactly what the product is about. It's just about how you're able to communicate it. And that piece that he had mentioned, and why is Lady Gaga the creative director of Polaroid? Like, what does she know about cameras? But it was about the fact that at the time, she was absolutely coming up in her career. And if she wasn't already at her peak, she was definitely like the pop sensation of the moment. So that collaboration right there, you would think of like Polaroid, like especially at the time, you would think like, oh, it's phasing out. iPhones are coming in. I think BBM was a huge thing at the time. We were sharing photos digitally, like who needed a Polaroid? Who is taking film to go get it developed? But also at the same time, Polaroid had really kind of like shifted into also starting to use like the film cameras, and then creating a nostalgia piece behind that. And so by including Lady Gaga in their creative direction, they kind of shifted the association of Polaroid from being something that was outdated and going out to something that was trendy. It was something that you were able to include in going to parties and taking these cute instant film photos and having them develop like on point to create this cute vintage effect. It was no longer something that was seen as becoming outdated and old and tacky. It was kind of refreshed, and where it was something that Lady Gaga is a part of. It has to be cool. It has to be eclectic. It has to be something that I want to have, the same way I want to go. At the time, everybody was buying their music on like iTunes, but the same way you go to buy $1.39 Bad Romance, you know, the single, you would want to go and get a Polaroid just the same. And so it's that kind of association that is really important in marketing. And so when we're talking about it, it's about the details. It's about the little things that all come together. It's the way you talk to your customers. It's the way that you have, you know, a comprehensive return policy where, you know, it's not just you taking their money and everything's final sale. It's about the fact that you really want somebody to enjoy your product. And if they don't, they can do an exchange. They can bring it back. You know, even talking about details, it's about like the way like the colors mesh and the way that you launch your products, you know, with each coming season. It's about the way that you are, you know, ahead of the trends or maybe perfectly on trend. It's about the communication. How often are you talking to your clients? Are you talking about your product or service? Are you able to talk about it in different ways? You never just have one niche, you have multiple. How are you able to talk to different people at different points of time? You know, for example, Sephora's main demographic is women. It's the majority of their demographic who come in shopping for them, from them. Over the holiday season, so in November, they do this massive sale, which brings women back in because they're like, oh my God, 20% off. Absolutely, I'm coming on for the Sephora sale. But then around the holidays, you know who their key demographic is? Men coming in to buy gifts. That's their key demographic over the holiday season, because of course women are buying products, you know, for holiday parties and for you know, their get-togethers and luncheons and brunches and stuff like that. But they have this whole new pile to pick from of people who just don't know what to give their girlfriends or their wives, their partners, like their friends. And they have this whole group that they can now sell to because it's easier. They make gifting easy. That's why they don't have gift set bundles throughout the rest of the year. It's because when the holidays come, yes, you have like the girls know exactly what it is they're buying, how to buy for their friends and whatnot. Men are going to come into the store and be like, well, I don't know what to get her. Well, you know, there's a gift pack. Well, I'm sure she'd love that. The only reason why they have gift packs around the holidays is because they make shopping easier for men. So you need to know how to communicate to your different products at different times of the year, at different points of the day even, and just know really how to communicate to different people at different times. It's the way that you make people feel. Again, going back to that whole experience, like you want people to feel positive about shopping with you, or, you know, partaking in your service. Like you want them to like walk away being like, I love that. I want to do it again. And if you can make people like feel good about spending their money with you, it makes business so much easier. Marketing is simple and uncomplicated. And the one also below, it's a skill that anybody can learn. I think that when you really look into exactly what marketing is and how you can execute it, I think that it is very simple and it's very uncomplicated. I find that when people think that it's more grand than it actually is, or it's very complicated, that's when it becomes hard. But when you really look into it and you really understand that it's literally just communication, it's just bringing you, yourself, your product, your service, your business to somebody and being able to effectively get out what it is that your gist is, it's relatively simple. It's just about learning exactly how to do that. It's synergy. So again, it's all these multiple different aspects just working together at once. Like I said about the details, it's not just one detail or another, because like for example, Nordstrom. If there is one thing that I can hear from anybody about Nordstrom, it's about they have the best return policy on this planet. You can return something like 3 years later and bring a receipt. They'll happily take your product back. That's an amazing quality of their marketing right there. But now if Nordstrom had they didn't have great brands that they carried, if they had rude customer service, if they, were in like remote areas, if they didn't have a lot of locations, if, you walked in there, it was always a mess, you'd be like, well, I could not care less about your return policy. I don't even want to come in here and buy anything to have to come back and return it. That's what I mean about synergy. You need to have the great customer service. You need to have, great lighting that when people come in, they're like, oh, this is warm. Like, I feel comfortable here. I feel great. Like the sections are greatly organized. I go to the makeup section, you have incredible brands. I go, to the men's section and you also have incredible brands. It's not made just for women. You have, a department store that's made for men as well. Like, I have great options all around. When people come in and you just have an experience that's very inclusive and encompassing, that synergy just working at one time. And that's what's really making your marketing work. And it's what's making people want to come back. And then it's also how consumers connect with businesses. So it's just, it's not so much how you talk to them, it's how your customers come and talk back to you. Do they engage with you on social media? Do they want to call you because they had a poor experience and they just want to be heard? What are they saying about your business? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it something that, they might want to, rectify? If they have a negative experience, do they feel like they can, oh yeah, like I came in and I ordered shoes online, like they didn't really fit because, the sizing on their website, like it sucked, like they're my fit, it was off. But, I went back to the store and like they took it back, no problem. So things like that. It's just, that's all marketing. So in marketing, you really need to know who your business is, like who is your business. And that's just really taking it out of the fact that it's just a business. Because when we think of Amazon, you think of like this massive company. You never really think of just like one person or who it's for or what exactly it's about. Like, it's convenient, that you can order something and it comes like next day or in a couple days and it's easy, but you need to know more of that. Like, what is the personality behind your business? And I think that's something that a lot of people, they fixate on their business as to like what it is, as opposed to who it is. And when you personalize your business and you add emotion and like empathy into it, I think that's what really breathes life into it. It makes it more than just some type of addition into corporate Canada. Who your product or service is for. Not necessarily who you're selling to, because who you're selling to and who it's for can be completely different. So you really need to understand like what problem is this solving? And for me to kind of expand on that. So for example, with my company in our ball pits, our products are for children. We sell to parents because babies obviously cannot get online, go to our website and put in a credit card number and make a purchase. So our products are for babies. We have to very much fixate on the fact that they need to be good for babies. They need to be comfortable. They need to be made of great quality materials. And even like our foam, it needs to be made of great ingredients. Like these are the things that we really need to think of. We need to make sure that when children sit on our tummy time mats, they don't sink into them because that ends up becoming like a suffocation hazard. These are the things that we really need to get into. So although the products look great so that parents can include them in their homes, they need to function well for children. And that's the vast difference of who your product is for versus who you're selling to. You need to think of your features. So what is it that's a part of your product that you can talk about? So for example, with our tummy time mats, a feature of that is that, we're able to say that, it comes in 2 pieces so that you can easily zip and unzip them depending on the space that it is that you're trying to use. And then your features lead into your advantages. So it zips in 2 pieces depending on the space, because we understand that not all homes, are inclusive in terms of play areas. If you're living in a condo in Toronto, we understand that you do have sizing restrictions in your home. And so we want to make sure that you're able to integrate our products into your home and your space in a way that's comfortable, in a way that's efficient for your day-to-day use. So, the feature is you can split it in 2. The advantage is that if you're in a smaller home, the product fits in your space perfectly. The benefit of that is your baby gets to use it more. And so when we look at those 3 things, we go back to synergy. How are these things all working together? And how is it that we're communicating each of them? So your features go to your advantages, go to your benefits. And you should always have those three key pieces in mind for your product, your service, and then also for your business in itself. What is it that your business features? That's an advantage, that's a benefit. And then getting into like the business side of it, a feature is we offer free shipping. The advantage of that is that you don't have to expend another $20. A benefit of that is now that you've saved $20, maybe you want to buy a bib. Maybe you just want to save the $20. Maybe you're now more inclined to actually make the purchase to get it sooner for your little one. So again, those three pieces, you have to have a very clear understanding of where each of them operate in your business at any time. You need to know your 20 no's. People are going to say no to wanting to buy your product. That's just inevitable. If you have a pool of 100 people, maybe 10 to 20% want to buy your product, just like that. That means that you have about another 90 to 80% of people who have zero interest in it. How are you going to appeal to them? And some ways that like we go about it is, 20 no's. So we have 10 to 20 people. They're like, yes, absolutely. I have a baby who's in that age range. Absolutely. I want to buy your product. Amazing. The other 80 to 90, we might say, okay, who here has a dog? And even that might seem like you have baby ball pits, like what, dogs? People are going back to work now. Now that pets are going to be at home, pet parents, they want to have something that's engaging for their little ones, so that they're less bored, they're engaged, they feel that they're being entertained while their owner is off at work. Now that's another demographic that we're able to speak to and include within our audience space and increase our sales. So you need to think of your 20 no's and think of how you can kind of speak to that and get over the hurdle of like, well, why is it a no? And then get past that. Again, your niche is not just your niche. I find a lot of people think that they only have one niche. That is so not the case. You have so many different people that you can speak to at various different times. Again, going back to my product, some of my niches include, people who are pregnant and don't have children just yet, but they're coming up to, their baby shower season. People who have fresh little ones that are just born. People who are, coming up in the age of like their children, and maybe they're like, we have crawlers, walkers, self-sitters, like we really do have a range, but all those different people need to be communicated to completely different. Again, around the holiday seasons, we're speaking to aunts, uncles, grandparents, why they should get these products for, the children in their lives, why it makes a great gift. Again, speaking to people who don't have kids as to why this is a great baby shower gift. And so you need to think of all the different people who you're communicating to and how you need to speak to them. You need to know your weaknesses. A lot of times people really like to focus on their strengths and what makes them great. Know what you suck at. there's really no better way that I could put that, but like know what you're not good at. Because if you're not good at it and you're not aware that you're not good at it, that is a failing point that you have. That's a severe blind spot that you have. And it's why you're not doing better in business. So you really need to know what it is that you're not successful at, and either educate yourself, come up to speed as to how you can be better at it to execute it yourself, or delegate it. Send it off to somebody else who is an expert. Whenever it comes to marketing, I always tell people, I'm like, if you can't do it yourself, hire somebody, because you're going to end up spending your money one way or another. But when you bring it to an agency, you spend it in a more efficient and effective way. Whereas a lot of the time when you're just figuring it out yourself, it's going to be more expensive. Of course, that depends on your budgets and what it is that you have to work with. But I always tell people, like, is $50,000 a lot to you? To some people, they're like, yeah, that's a ton of money. But it's like, if $50,000 was to lead you to $500,000 in sales, well, now is that a lot of money? So again, just thinking of where it is that you can invest in resources to include them in your business so that you can kind of take things off of your plate if you're not good at them. And then that just makes your business and its functionality a lot stronger. Oh, I love this. Build something 100 people love, not something 1 million people kind of like. And for me, that again goes back to community, having people who very much enjoy what it is that you're doing, what your product is about, and just absolutely loving it. Those 100 people who love it, They're going to be your best ally in business when it comes to marketing, when it comes to pushing your products, and when it just like building up your business just in general. A million people who kind of like your business, they're not going to be super into action. The 100 people who love it are, and they're going to promote it to the other people who are definitely going to love it as well. So that comes down to really understanding your target audience and knowing how to speak to them. So in my entrepreneurial journey in marketing, what are some things that I would do differently? Well, for starters, I would use more social media platforms. When we got started, I definitely had a fixation on Instagram. I was like, Instagram is it, that's how we're going to do it. And it took me a while to kind of get out of that. And it's interesting because as somebody who works in marketing, I understand the value of different platforms, but I think that I was definitely very fixated on focusing on one platform when we got gotten started because we had limited resources for advertising. And so I was like, hey, you know what, we're going to buckle down on Instagram, and that's me where we push. Do I regret that? A little bit, but also kind of not really, because it was like our main platform for pushing. It definitely added to the community piece. And so that's the only reason why I'm like, I don't regret it entirely. Because we were able to build community there, it kind of became more than just a business. And we have a lot of supporters. Our audience is very engaged with our brand and what it is that we're doing, and they definitely promote it to their friends. However, I do wish that we had used a little bit more of Pinterest because Pinterest was really great for sales. However, I think that, again, it goes back to the synergy piece where because we already had support behind our brand, it was easier to make sales by the time we did start pushing on platforms like Pinterest, starting to build on TikTok, because we already had people who were able to say, yeah, we like what you're doing. What you're doing is great. Diversifying my content. So we kind of got into this about 6 months post-launch where we started, speaking to parents on like a different level other than just talking about ball pits. That was where we got into like offering like tips and tricks, like in parenting, reposting other people's content that we thought was really beneficial, pulling in, some like acknowledgement pieces for, like mom's like, happy Friday, go get some Starbucks on us, and then posting, like a gift card that we had like preloaded and things like that. So definitely look into diversifying your content a little bit. So I wish we'd done it about 3 months sooner, but I think that when you're just getting started and you're really trying to get into launching your business and making your messaging clear, I think that it's good to focus on that for a little bit, but then you do need to recognize a definitive point where you do need to get into some different type of content that keeps people engaged. Being more consistent, be consistent in literally everything that you do at all points, all the time. Something that we had done when we first started was when somebody made a sale, we would send them a follow-up message asking them, like we noticed that you bought a ball pit, would you like to add or complement your ball pit with some like balls as well? And that piece worked out really well. And then when the holiday season came, we could not keep up with those messages. We went from doing, a couple thousand per month. And then in the month of November, we did $100,000 in sales just in 1 month alone. And so those messages went like right out the window. We weren't doing the follow-up. We weren't sending out the thank you emails like right afterwards. And then it was when we hit January where we were like, okay, no, we need to add in at least an automation system that does that for us, because the consistency needs to be there. We do need to send those messages. We do need to make sure that people know that we appreciate them for supporting our small business and feel inclined to come back based on the service. So we didn't feel like we were the most consistent with that when things picked up. And so what we did was we added in some steps afterwards to make sure that those key pieces weren't missed. Expanding your product line. So when we started, we had a gray and a pink ball pit. We had them in the small and the large. And those colors worked perfectly for us. And then a couple months later, we added in a couple more colors. And then a couple months later, we added in a couple more colored balls. And then we slowly grew like our product line for the ball pits from there. But I do wish that we had added in a different shape of the ball pit. And I also wish that we had added in some more products. So for example, we have our couches that will be launching later this summer. I wish that we had launched them earlier because we didn't have any reason for customers to come back. They would buy their ball pits, they might come back for a cover, but otherwise the quality of the product is so good that they don't really need to replace their covers. And the balls, they don't really change out, maybe for like the holiday seasons, but that excessive consumption, a lot of our customers don't really partake in. So I do wish that we had had something that was beneficial for customers to come back. We really expanded on the product itself, but we didn't diversify our inventory, or sorry, our catalog. And so I do wish that we had done that a little bit earlier. And I wish that we had included our square ball pits because we're launching those now. But I think that had we done it earlier, we would have had a more clear idea as to how our customers respond to each of the products, which one does better, and maybe proceeding with just one as opposed to having the two. Because if you can buy, or if you can produce, 1,000 ball pits, but then you have to split them. One comes in a round cover, one comes in a square. Well, those are completely different. Now you're going to have an increase of cost per, because if you order 1,000 entirely, the cost does go down. If you order 500 of each, the cost is a little bit different. And so again, that was something that I wish that we had done. But again, we didn't really line up our ducks. We kind of just grabbed them and started running. So I wish that we did prepare a little bit differently and just strategized a little bit differently. I wish I'd priced our product properly. We had started with Canada Post and we just immediately started shipping with them just because it was the most obvious choice. It wasn't until a year later that we realized that we could have spent half of our shipping costs to go to our US customers. And so we could have reduced our shipping costs by about 30 to 50%, which is a huge chunk of your profit margin. So I wish that that was something that we had looked into before, so that we could have priced our products properly. Because then if we could have then reduced the cost of the product, which then would have been a little bit more appealing to parents, or we could have at the time not eaten up so much of the profit margin, or maybe just increased our cost a little bit and then marketed differently to a different target audience. But definitely look into how it is that you're doing your pricing. And a part of the pricing piece is definitely looking into your shipping carriers. And again, that's just increasing my profitability by being more aware of my expenses. Okay, so that's my little spiel for you guys. Does anybody have any questions?
Question time. We encourage you to place your questions in the chat. Anyone has questions for Danielle? I know I saw Yinka. I don't know if she's still here. I think I saw her hand up at one point. So Yinka, if you are here and you want to ask your question live, now is the time. Danielle, I have a question. Just listening to you, I mean, you just make the song so easy, you know. How critical is research? Because I mean, yeah, how critical is research in terms of being able to, I mean, you must know what you're marketing and yeah.
And research is very important because again, it just prepares you to know how to communicate. If you're not looking into how to talk to people, you're kind of just setting yourself up for at least a harder road ahead. An example of that is, now our products were just, we just knew who to talk to and how to talk to them because I am a mom. For me, it was very easy. However, an example of this is, so we recently just met these two young entrepreneurs who are starting up this product that assists with laundry. I don't want to give away too much of it because I think their product is really great. And they were talking about it and they were like, oh yeah, like it would be great for, you know, guys in dorms. And so that's who it is that we're really talking to and how we're really, you know, pushing this. And I was like, well, you are definitely getting off on the wrong foot because women hold purchasing power in households. So you should not be marketing this to guys who are in dorms because that's how you identify. You should be marketing this to their moms. That is the person that you should be marketing this towards, because she's going to be the one who says, oh, wow, this is really convenient for him. I think that this will work out really well. Let me buy him a couple boxes so I can send it to him when he's away at college. That is who you should be talking to. But when you miss that key piece of research, you're not going to know that women hold the purchasing power in homes, not men. Women are, more likely to, also make, quick purchases, or otherwise impulse purchases, but they'll just see something. They know how it's going to work for them. They know how it's going to, benefit their households, their homes, their day-to-day lives. And they're just like, yes, that's what I need. Those are the people who you should be speaking to. Marketing to men is definitely different than it is marketing to women, because I find that with men, it needs to be a lot more educational. You definitely need to fixate on the fact as to, and really include it into your marketing, why this is great. You'll notice that like in men's razor commercials, they have to talk about, like why there's so many different blades, what the blades do, why the head has to turn, how that benefits them. Whereas in women's shaving commercials, you'll notice that there's just a woman running down the beach and then she stops and she's shaving her already shaved leg. It doesn't include the same amount of communication, because women just see things and they're like, yep, I get it. Whereas men, they need a little bit more pushes to like, why do I need this? Oh yeah, I guess that could work for me. Okay, I guess the next time I'm at the store, I'll pick it up. The communication piece is definitely different. But again, you're not going to really know that unless you do the research. And I think that every company, regardless of the product, needs to know how to sell to women. Again, going based on the fact that women hold the purchasing power in the households. And so definitely go into the piece of research, because you need to know how to sell to women, even if your product is not for them. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for that response. I'm seeing some questions coming into the chat. We have one here. I mean, as I said, Danielle, you make this sound so easy. Everybody wants to know where did you get trained in marketing? Which marketing training program would you recommend for students looking at a post-secondary marketing program?
I got trained in marketing via trial and error. I have no formal education in marketing. It's just, again, I had kind of gotten, my mom's an entrepreneur, so I've always just seen her at work, and I've always just been like, that is what I want to do. I so admire her, because she's a Black woman who has attempted to enter corporate Canada a number of times. And she's not the kind of person who can just take systemic BS. She's just like, oh, okay, no, I will leave then. So I've always admired that about her. And she's always been very entrepreneurial because of that, because she just does not take systemic racism nonsense, working in companies. So she's been very much somebody who likes to, build her own castle and run it herself. And so in seeing that, I definitely got the entrepreneurial itch very early. I remember in I think my first business was a garage sale, donut setup. And just knowing that people are coming in first thing in the morning, I'm like, I want to sell coffees and donuts. And then at the beginning of university, I started a staffing company. And one of my first clients was MoneyGram. And we had a booth at Jimbana. And that worked out really well. And then it was kind of just I'll always get ideas for a business and how it is that I can do it. And I'll research the market and I'll see how I can go about it. But then sometimes it just wouldn't work with my schedule. But the key piece there for me was kind of just always doing research, always looking into seeing if the market's there, where it exists, how it is that I can go about it. Again, I find that with marketing, I went to university, it wasn't really for me because I found that it was very theoretically based. Whereas I find that marketing is not like that. Marketing is not based in theory. It's based off of data is key. It's based on communication. It's based on creative. And it's also based on what is essentially now, what is trendy and what is now. And because that's ever evolving, I don't think that you can take marketing education that's been put into foundation how many decades ago, because I don't think that's what works. I think that there's some things that you can take that you can try to apply today, but I don't truly believe in reading, strictly marketing books. I think that another thing for me that I feel really worked was that I loved philosophy. And I went to university, it didn't work for me. So I went to college instead because I liked how it was more kind of like a tangible learning base. And I loved philosophy. And I find that anybody who's great at philosophy, or anybody who can read through Shakespeare, anybody who can like really read between the lines, you can really get a different understanding of things. And I think that that empathy and that empathetic understanding is really important in marketing, because it's being able to see things through not strictly your own point of view. It's being able to see something that's written in like Pig Latin or something that's like Socratic and be like, yeah, I can understand where this can mean there. I can see where this understands here. I can see where I can apply that here, because that's literally all marketing is. It's seeing, it's understanding, and it's applying. And I think that's really key. So for me, it's like, again, I don't have like a university-based education on it. I have never taken any type of marketing courses or anything like that. For me, it's just about understanding what works, what doesn't work. And then also for me, I have a very distinctive style of marketing. And I end up working with a lot of people who kind of have a similar idea as to how it is that they want their marketing to look, and it very much aligns with mine. And so I found that's very key as well, but it's essentially just understanding how to communicate to people. And if you don't understand that, I think that there's amazing books that you can even read that really help you develop that. One of my favorite was 100 Essays to Change the Way You Think. It's this like white book with like just black text. And it's literally like 100 different essays like in this book. It's not like anything like crazy long. It's not like 100 essays and like the book's like this big. It's like this big. But I think that it's a really great one to, again, develop that empathetic way of thinking. Podcasts as well. There's this one from Stanford. Oh, I wish I could remember what it was called. I think it's called the Creative Thinking or something like that. But podcasts are also great. But also trial and error. I think that if anybody has a social media platform, don't be afraid to just like post things and see how people respond to them. Like if you want to try different designs, if you want to try different ways of speaking to people, do it on your own Instagram, do it on your businesses, and just keep track of what's working, what's not working, where it is that you're seeing growth in your account, where you're not. Because that was mine for a while. That was definitely how I went about things. But I also suggest putting together your marketing plan and bringing it to somebody who's a professional, bringing it to an agency. Again, this goes back into investing. Like if you can't hire a full-on marketing agency for like full services, put together a marketing plan and then take it to a marketing agency and have them review it. At Brandy Q, we do that all the time. And when people bring in like their stuff, like we'll just do like a phone consultation. We'll walk them through like where some adjustments can be made. If we think that they can execute it really themselves, or if they would be better off, maybe hiring some type of agency, or maybe even like on like a one-off or something like that. But learning how to do the marketing yourself is important, but I think that it can be done in more ways than just traditional education.
Okay, thanks for that. Someone is asking, at what point did you seek funding via sponsorship, or did you at any point seek funding via sponsorship?
At every point, oh my gosh, at every point should you be seeking funding. You are never too big or too small to try find funding. The only thing about us being in COVID is that the COVID funding was very much available. And the thing that worked for our business though, when it came to funding, was that before the pandemic, we had wanted to open up Blue Organics as a clothing retailer. We were in Grand Cayman. We saw that they didn't have many clothing options for little ones that were like reasonably priced. And I was just like, oh my God, that's going to be me. I'm somehow going to do baby clothing in Grand Cayman. And so that's what it started with. And then it wasn't until the pandemic started, we got into the pandemic, that the business was very much the same. The demographic was very much the same, but the product itself completely changed. And so because we already had the foundation of the business, we did qualify for funding. But that piece right there to qualify is so important. Make sure your business is registered. Make sure you have your activity being able to be like dated. Make sure you're filing your taxes, on time, because those pieces are really what affect funding. And I find government funding is such an untapped resource for small businesses because they just don't think that they qualify. But if you're able to get your sales to where they need to be, there's, grants that, will do funding for you to expand to the US or to international markets. There is small business support. Sometimes you do have to go through some type of training course, or you do have to go through some type of maybe even like a pitch competition or something. But, and even talking about pitch competitions, the BBPA's Rise Up pitch competition, I think, is an amazing resource for women-owned businesses. I know that they have some men programming coming up as well. And so even within the BBPA, you'll also find out what funding resources can be available. We ended up finding one in the Boss Women program about a year and a half ago, and we ended up getting like $40,000 in funding from that. If I wasn't on that session, I literally never would have known about it. I know that they had pushed some information about the Digital Main Street one that was happening. So you either have to do a lot of research yourself to find what grants and what funding opportunities are coming up, or again, get in touch with the BBPA, attend like more kind of programs like this, because especially when like government officials and representatives come on, they'll be able to like let you know what types of grants and fundings are coming up, and if you would qualify for them, and discussing those things. So at any point of your business, do be looking for where you can get funding. Absolutely apply, because even if you read and you're like, well, I don't really know if I apply for this or if I qualify for this, still apply, because the worst thing they can tell you is no. So just send in your application, do the ask, and just wait to see if you hear back, and otherwise just keep business moving as usual, but always apply.
And do you need to do your marketing plan different if you know that you want to acquire funding? Do you need to make your marketing, is it a bigger plan? Is it something different that you need to add to your plan?
The thing is that it doesn't necessarily need to be big. It just needs to be efficient and effective in how you communicate your plan. So you can have a 50-page document that says absolutely nothing. You can have a one-page document that details exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and what funds you need to be able to get there. So it's just about really being able to efficiently answer, what do I need? Why do I need it? And what am I going to do when I have it? When you have that plan put together, I think it makes it easier. I also think that's why business plans, there's not one clear, definitive template online, because they are so subjective, because business needs are subjective. But when it comes to how your business functions, you should know that better than anybody, and you should be able to give a definitive answer on anything and everything related to your business. So if somebody's asking, well, why do you need the money? You shouldn't be really saying like, oh, I don't want to do marketing and I want to do, order some more stuff, for my inventory. You should be able to say like, I want to invest X amount of dollars into advertising. I want to use X amount of dollars to invest in content creation. I want to use this much money for influencer marketing. I expect to see a return from the influencer marketing being this. This is what the inventory is going to cost me. This is what I want the grant to cover. I need for it to cover, my shipping materials. I need for it to cover the shipping cost. I need to develop my website. In building my website, I need to invest in SEO. I need to pay somebody to do my SEO because I am not a writer. But it's more than just being able to say like, I kind of need it here. I kind of need it there. You need to say, I definitively need it here. This is the dollar amount that I need, and it's going to result in this. If you're able to do that, I think that is not only like paramount and fundamental in operating your business, but it's definitely going to be what speaks differently to any type of like funders, banks, investors, if that's what it is that you're going for. And I think that when it is that you're going for funding, well, even if you're not going for funding at any point of your business, I think it's so important to watch like Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, because I went through this weird phase where I was just back-to-back episodes. I thought it was so fascinating how people go in and like, because like the sharks or the dragons, they can ask you any question and you have to have it ready to go. And so you watch it and you're like, this person's going to do well in business. And then you go and you look and you find out that, you know, like the Ring doorbell guy sold his, like he didn't get any investors, but he sold his product to Amazon for like $1 billion, like the next year, like 2 years later. There was this one woman who came on, and I remember watching it and just thinking, she's just here for the promotion. And she also sold like a baby product. And a couple months after she was on Shark Tank, her products were in like every major baby retailer. But she wasn't able to answer some questions about her business very well. But I think that if you watch it and you want to get into retailers, like for me, it was like, okay, so these are the questions that somebody might ask me when I want to get into, you know, Bye Bye Baby, for example. And I remember I rewatched that episode when I pitched Indigo, my business, and now we retail with them. So I think that watching programs like that are really important because they tell you, or they at least demonstrate to you the details you really need to have a full, robust, comprehensive understanding about within your business.
Okay, great. I'm seeing another question here in the chat with regards to your target audience. When you have located your target audience, how would you recommend reaching out to create a community? Using your example of marketing to parents for children products, how do you use social media platforms to leverage your product? Would you recommend paying various pages for advertisements? Kind of 3 questions in one there, kind of.
Yeah. So for me, I love Instagram just because it's the, honestly, any type of social media platform just really offers you the opportunity to have such a far reach to get to your target audience and demographic without having to invest as much as you traditionally would have had to. So for me, it's like, we can run like a $1,000 ad and we can actually like make it centrally located to a very specific address. Like around the holiday season, one of our targeted ads is just the Eaton Center, so that anybody who's in the food court scrolling through on their phone, our ads are coming up if they already look at parent stuff. So doing things like that, I think is really important. But when you find your target audience, you need to definitely make different types of content for them. And when it comes to social media and being able to do targeted ads, doing some research, where is it that, you know, your audience is gathering at a certain point. Another example of this is baby shows. I know I'm not traveling all the way to Atlanta for their upcoming baby show, but I know that I can do an ad that's specifically on the convention center where the baby show is happening. And anybody who's going there is already my target audience, my target demographic. So just doing like little tricks like that. Another thing for building community is we just, for all of our photo shoots, we've always opened it up to parents submitting their kids as opposed to us reaching out and asking people if they want to participate in it. This has been because, you know, we do a targeted ad, parents, like they see it and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to have my little one participate. They post, you know, a photo of their kid, they talk about why their child is so great and they tag us, and they're just letting other parents know there's this opportunity to engage and be a part of our brand, and those parents then participate in it. So that has worked out really well for us. We've just gotten to a point now where it's worked a little too well for us. Our most recent shoot, we had advertised it for about 3 days and we got over 250 submissions from parents. So our follower count definitely went up and we definitely were able to build community. But now what I'm starting to not really like about that is that A, it's really hard for me to pick the kids that participate, but also B, I understand that as a parent, it doesn't really feel good when your kid doesn't get selected. So we've actually decided that we're not really going to run with those anymore. It's been a great way for us to build our communities, but we want it to be more inclusive than that. We want parents to feel shafted in any type of way. And mind you, like our shoots, we've built them to be very inclusive. So when you take that into account, the fact that, you know, in different stages of childhood, we want to have, you know, a child who's just starting to do tummy time. We want a self-sitter. We want a crawler. We want somebody who's just standing. We want somebody who's able to run. Well, that leaves us with a very small group of children that like we can really select from. Select for, but we have a large group to select from. So we end up leaving a lot of parents kind of with like the not the best taste left in their mouth about us. And I don't really like that anymore. So what we have coming up is we decided to do something that's a lot more inclusive and includes all the parents who want to submit their kids for us. So we're going to do that in like our holiday season because we've always done a holiday shoot. So we've now adjusted that. It's worked for us to this point, but then now we just need to adapt because we're noticing a part of it that's just not really working. So again, it's like you'll find things that work for your business, but as soon as they don't work for your business anymore, you do have to adapt. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's definitely the key part of business. It's that adaptability. But finding ways to include your audience in different ways, recognizing where you may not be leaving them with the best experience, which can be easy to do on social media because you don't really have that person-to-person contact. So I find that when you're building your social media audience, when people engage with you, engage right back with them. When people started following us, in the beginning, we would send them a message saying like, welcome to Baloo, like welcome to our community. We're so happy you're here. If you have any questions about us or our products, just send us a message. We've built our Instagram like organically. So for us to now be at almost 10,000, it's been difficult to keep up with sending those messages all the time. So that was something that we ended up kind of like leaving behind. But I think that when you start building your community on Instagram or really any social media, it's a lot easier to do than in traditional marketing, but you do have a lot of follow-up to do. And you do have a lot of engagement with your community that goes beyond just trying to sell them stuff.
Okay, someone is asking here if you can give us your top 5 resources that you use to motivate and educate you.
Yeah.
Podcasts, books, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I love TikTok. I absolutely love TikTok. I love going to like the hashtag marketing tips and I just scroll through. That piece works really well for me. Another piece of TikTok that I love is when people will post trending, like sounds that are already trending. So I don't have to spend as much time on my phone to be able to land on those algorithms on TikTok. I can already just pull up one person's, they'll tell you how it is that you should use the sound and then you just do that. So I love those ones. But I think TikTok is a really great resource because it's free. You have people who are professionals, people who know how to do marketing, and they give out, you know, tips and tricks, you know, for free. Some people, they are trying to sell you on like a full marketing course, but for the most part, I find that you can get really great information there. And a lot of people will tell you what resource it is that they're using that's making things work for them. So TikTok is definitely a big one for me. I love podcasts. I absolutely love podcasts. I really want to go on my phone and see if I can pull up the one, like the Stanford one that I listened to. But I remember like a couple months ago, I was listening to one of their episodes where they were talking about creativity. And they had a guest on who was from the Cirque du Soleil production team. And I just absolutely loved what it is that they were talking about, because they were talking about taking novel ideas and then bringing them back to something that's functional. Novel being like just like very new, very creative, very kind of like forward thinking, but then bring them back to something that they know works. And so finding like the ideas and bringing them to something that functions. And then that's how they're able to come up with their productions. And when anybody ever thinks of the circus, I think Cirque du Soleil is the main production company that they think of. I could not even name you another one. That's how great they are at what they do. And that really just comes down to marketing. And then I actually went to the show with my mom. I think this is a third resource, and then I would say, podcasts are definitely one, but then a third is actually putting yourself in spaces that inspire you. So again, I had listened to that podcast. They had somebody from Cirque du Soleil, and then I actually went to a Cirque du Soleil show, and I was watching it and I was just like, yeah, I see what they mean, because I just had I had a very enjoyable time. Like I just really enjoyed myself. And it was different from any other real experience like I kind of have, because, you know, a couple of my friends, like they don't have kids. So like when we go out, it's like dinner and then going to like a lounge or something. But this was the kind of like the first time where I did something where I felt like it was very much like an activity, and I didn't have my kids with me. So it was like a different activity, but I just thought it was very enjoyable, and I would like so happily go back to one. But, you know, being a person who works in like the creative world, it was, I was just watching it. I was like, oh, I love how they have that piece. I love how they included that. I loved the way they structured the schedule in terms of different acts that came out and how it was that they did it. The pieces that people were really engaged with, as opposed to the ones that they kind of just like sat back a little bit more. And so just really taking into account those. A fourth piece of inspiration, I would say, is finding what other people are doing that kind of aligns with how it is that you yourself want to be as a business owner. I find that for me, finding my entrepreneurial style took a long time. And it's something that I'm still trying to develop now, how it is that I want to be as a business owner, as somebody who works with clients and is still like young and still like, and I have kids. And so I feel like I'm always trying to adjust and adapt my style with all these different things that I have going on. And so a piece that I have found that works for me is finding people who inspire me and seeing what it is kind of like that they're doing, but not emulate it to a T. Just find like the general like vibes and like aesthetic it is that you like, and just keeping that in mind when you're developing your entrepreneurial style. And I think that you know, even me just saying that, like, develop your own, because I find that if you try to copy anybody else, whether it be in your business, you see another business doing something and you're like, oh, like I'm just copying their content, like word for word, exactly the way that they do it. I'm copying, you know, like this person, this influencer, because I love what they're doing. Anytime that I've ever tried to do that, I find that my creative mindset can definitely go stale, because if I'm not being influenced by another person, what they're doing, I don't know how to come up with something myself. And so for me, it was kind of like early on in my career where I was kind of just like, you know what, no, I need to work on just finding like whiffs of things that I like, as opposed to fully taking them like verbatim, because that's just how the creative process works better for me. And if I have to copy somebody else, it's just, I'll reach a flat point where I'm like, well, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to do things. And so I think that taking inspiration, but bringing it into your own creative process and just really fine tuning and developing that, and just knowing that it's a process for a reason. It's never like, you're never going to be fully set in how it is that you want to market yourself or how you want to do your business. You're always going to want to adapt, change, adjust. And I think that that is the creative process to a T. You're never going to be fully at an endpoint. And when you understand that, you know that if you're always developing and you're never quite comfortable exactly where you are, I think that you're exactly where you need to be, because you do always need to be doing that type of like adaptation. And I would say the fifth and last thing for me, for my inspiration, is just reflecting on my own life. I think that a lot of the time we think that our customers have to give us all the answers, where I think that if you look at your product yourself, especially if you created it based on your own need, I think that you can answer a lot of your questions based on that. You know, for example, like if you've developed a body product and you really love shopping at Sephora, but your product is not at Sephora and the way that your packaging looks nothing like anything on the shelves at Sephora, well, I think that you recognize that you yourself love an elevated shopping experience. And if you want your product to be there, take a second to step back and ask, like, well, what is it that I like about shopping at Sephora? What is it that I like about the packaging that's there? And then incorporating that into your product, and just developing something that you yourself would love to go to Sephora, look on a shelf and see. Yeah, I always think that if I ever owned like a body company and I had those types of products. I would probably just go to Sephora and just start dropping my stuff off on a shelf so that people can pick it up and go to the cash and be like, can I check this out? And then like they'll like start asking, why do we have all this product? And then maybe they would think that they need to start selling it, but that's just me being weird. But doing that kind of stuff, putting yourself in the place where you want to be.
Thanks for that, Danielle. I have a question here. How did you come up with the name for your company? And you know, just to add to that, what tips you have for naming your business? How is that? How critical is it?
So I think that names are just very personal. So like I always think of names and then I'm just like, oh my God, like, is this already registered? And like, I'll quickly go to GoDaddy. And if it's not, I'll just register it. As a result, I currently have like 75 domain names. It's a little out of hand. But then I'll also go to Instagram and I'll register that as well. So that I do have both of them. And I'm like, I'm going to get to these someday. But I think that sometimes like if you have something that's like unique to you, or not, maybe not even just to you, but just like that you just really like. So for me, I remember when I was a kid, I saw some movie. I could not tell you what it was called. I could not tell you what it was about. I just remember that it took place in like Southeast Asia. And like, there was this little boy, he was on like a pickup truck and he's like running away from something and he had a dog and the car is zooming off and he's trying to escape and his dog's running after him. And he kept on like shouting like, Baloo, Baloo. And I just always thought it sounded so cute. And I don't know why it just like stuck in my mind because I saw this when I was a kid. And then I remember a few years ago, I met somebody when I was working at a hotel bar and like, he was just like a cool dude. And I was like, oh yeah, like, what's your name? And he was like, oh, it's Baloo. And I was like, oh, like, I love that. And I remember it was like the first time somebody had ever brought the name up to me to kind of like refresh. And I was just like, oh, like Baloo, Baloo. And I spoke to him about the movie and he was like, I have no idea which that one is, what movie that one is. But I was named Baloo after like the Jungle Book because it literally just means bear. Like that's it. And then when it came time to like the business, I remember I loved the name because I was just like, oh, like little like bear cubs. And I was always called like my daughter, like my cub. So when it came time to creating a brand, I was like, oh, like I love the name Baloo. I just felt like it like rolled off the tongue. It just had stuck with me for so long. And I just really liked it. Baloo was already taken. Like I could get, I couldn't get any of the Instagram handles. I couldn't get any of the names. And then I looked into some variations and I was like, well, what about like organics? Because again, at the time, all of the clothing was going to be organic. Like it was all going to be made out of like linen and like 100% organic cotton. And so we went with Baloo Organics. But then as soon as we got into developmental toys, I was like, well, will that name still stand? And then I had to do a Google search for what exactly organic meant. And even organic, we were able to use it within our product because it doesn't necessarily mean organic because the products are organic, although they are as close to all natural as possible. For us, organic meant the child's like original like development. So it's like their point of growth. That's what we pulled in organic to mean in our business name. And so yeah, that was kind of how the name came to be.
Really cool and cute. I don't have any more questions. Anyone has any more questions for Danielle? Any questions for Danielle? Okay. Danielle, I think that might be it. Thank you very, very much for joining us. I enjoyed the presentation. I'm sure the participants did as well. They were able to take away some valuable, hope they were able to take away some valuable information for their business. And so I want to thank you so much for being here. And I thank all the participants for being here as well. And, you know, we just wish everyone a great day and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Oh, we have a question. Do we have a question from Nadine? Do we have something from Nadine? Or is that just a clap? Nadine, you want to come on camera to say a few words? To say something? No? Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, everybody. Happy Saturday.
Community Spaces, the financial literacy program that speaks and reaches the community. Are we going to be in a better place, or are we going to be still, quote unquote, behind the 8 ball?
Because of the historical disadvantage that our community has, we most times do not have financial role models. Without that, economically and financially speaking, we'll always be at the bottom.
Keep proper books and record, because the data drives the strategy and the strategy drives the profits.
COVID-19 sort of removed a veil. It's really exposed the structural barriers that our communities face.
These last 2 years, where there's been a heightened emphasis on the well-being of Black people, has influenced the influx of funds and opportunities. The time is now. How long is that window going to be open?
We'll see you next week. And don't forget to tell a friend to join us here on Community Space